Hello everyone, my name is GhostOPTC, sorry, and in today's video, I'm going to be starting a new tier list that I haven't seen anyone else on YouTube do. Now I could be wrong, and I haven't really searched well, but this is going to be a level limit break tier list. So obviously we have all the characters that have gotten their level limit breaks here, being V1 Whitebeard, and so on and so forth, up until Jinbe. So you have all three of the batches, and this is going to be basing off of how much of a buff did they get, how much more usable did these characters become after their level and breaks, and how hard are they to replace. Like, are certain characters really easy to replace and then debuff themselves or rely on something else? Because if that's the case, they'll be ranked lower. But if a character is very unique with what they do and can provide a lot to your crew with maybe a little bit of setup, or even no setup at all, then I think that they'll be a better character overall and will definitely rank higher. So let's talk about the tiers a bit. So for the tiers, we have tier 0, which is going to be obviously the best of the best. These characters are the best level limit breaks. Tier 1 is like these characters are very, very strong, but have their downfalls. So it might limit them going into tier 0. Tier 2 is like the middle ground, where this character is very good and their upgrades are very good and they're unique, but they have some other aspects of them that also limit them but are worse overall. Tier 3 is like the place that's like kind of like, okay, I'm saying like a bunch. Tier 3 is like the place for characters that didn't receive too much of a buff. They could have already just been really good, and then the buff they got enhanced them, but it wasn't really as good as some other characters. Or it could just be that their buffs were not that good, and tier 4 and tier 5 are just trash. But yes, let's get started with the first character being V1 Whitebeard, which I'm going to slap into tier 2. So he's got a really unique captain effect, making badly matching slots matching, as well as some other effects. But he also gives a full board of slots, some damage, and the thing is, he has a very high cooldown for his special. We'll talk about his special in a second. It's a 17 turn cooldown for his special prior to limit break expanding him. So that does hurt the character because obviously stalling 17 turns is not fun. Yes, you can compare ships and other stuff, but this character's special is very good nonetheless. It gives cooldown, it gives a HP cut, and it gives a forward of slots. However, it relies on you having normal attacks only to get its full potential. Now yes, every piece of content nowadays pretty much has normal attacks only. However, there's certain pieces of content that don't, or for a majority of it, they don't. So it definitely hurts the unit. Because, let's say you don't have normal attacks only. You get an HP cut, some cooldown, and a full board of matching slots. However, if you have no attacks only, you get a base stat increase, a million fixed damage through everything, and an orb boost. Like, obviously, you'd much rather have all of that compared to just without normal attacks only. That does hurt the character. Plus, his captain effect is pretty good. It's just the cooldown and the fact you need to have normal attacks only hurt this character a lot. So that's my opinion on him. I think he belongs in tier 2. Let's move on to V1 Boa. So V1 Boa is a Psy and quick boosting captain, and I'm going to put her in tier 1. Her special and her captain effect are very unique and hard to replace. I mean, as a captain effect, she makes you can heal recovery slots with a perfect. You can get a high boost. It gives a recovery boost below 50%. It gives some more matching slots. It's very good. And her special delays. It applies mellow. It gives an attack and recovery boost, and it goes off full board of slots. The orb manip is a bit weird, but it's still something. So I think that what's stopping her from being in tier 1 is just the kind of power of the characters above her, just because they can provide more to your crew. I mean, this character is very good. If you made the argument this character belongs in tier 0, I would want to listen to your argument before I make a change to my tier list. Well, who knows, once we see more people actually getting Boa to level limit break 5, who knows, I might put her up into tier 0. We just have to see her being used in content. But that's my opinions on this Boa. I think she is a tier 1 character, and yeah, I think she'll be staying there until I mean, until we just know more about her. Yeah, let's move on to V3, not V3, V1 Rayleigh. Alright, so V1 Rayleigh is a chain boosting captain. And I don't like chain boosting captains. Because really they get kind of nerfed by a lot of things in the game. However, his special has always been really good. And I think I'm going to put him in tier 3. Now, he got a buff where he adds 1.75 times attack boost in his captain effects. And special gets an ore boost and the ability to buff an ore boost. That's it. Now, a ton of these characters got so much stronger boosts. Like, we look at Whitebeard and Boa, they got so much more than Rayleigh. But Rayleigh was already good. And the ore boost just is the cherry on top of Rayleigh's kit. Because he still reduces the 7 turns of Bind, Despair, and Paralysis. Still delays, he still makes perfects easier to hit. But now he just has an ore boost, which is really good. However, do I think a 1.75 times attack boost in his captain effect, an ore boost in his special, and the ability to buff an ore boost are worth tier 1 and tier 0? No. I think this character's buffs are fine, but I just think that he was already really good and we'll still see some play as a support and as a sub, but as a captain effect, his captain effect is just not that good and probably won't see play still. So I think he'll sit in tier 3 for a majority of his life because chain boosting captains are just not that good. Alright, so now we're on V1 Shanks. I think V1 Shanks is very good, and he's obviously required in Grand Voyage, like 100% required in Fushia Village Grand Voyage. Now he gives a full board of orbs, an attack boost on the following turn, defense is 0, so it does damage, all with his special, but he's mono psi, completely mono psi. If your characters are not psi, they don't get anything, which it definitely does hurt this character, because we see characters like going up here being Rainbow, Boa boost quick and psi. So yeah, it's fine though, because his character is very good and he makes up for it with the fact that his special is really strong and he's needed in Grand Voyage. And I think the added effect of him being needed and he's just a really good kid puts him in tier 1 for me. However, if you were to tell me he belongs in tier 2, even though he's good in Grand Voyage, you really won't see that much play. Or if you said he's in tier 0, I would say maybe not tier 0, but tell me your argument. And as for tier 2, I think he could possibly go down there as time goes on, because we have so many good side captains, and we already know that, well, we all suspect that a new Shanks legend will be coming out for Film Red, and that just makes the most sense for all of us. So who knows what will happen? Will this Shanks be put down? Will this Shanks be put up as time goes on? Who knows? But yeah, that's my opinions on him. Alright, so now we have one of the worst characters in my opinion, and I think that Sengoku belongs in tier 4. Sengoku is a cost boosting captain, and cost boosting captains are awful. You can't bring legends, you can only bring rare recruits. He's now at 30 cost or less, which is good compared to the 29 cost or less, because before you could only bring unevolved copies of rare recruits. But in this special, he doesn't give himself the ore boost, he doesn't give himself the matching slots, and his captain effect does not boost him by the highest margin. It boosts him by a lower margin than 30 cost or less, so it just makes no sense. He doesn't even get the HP boost. Like, this character is so centered around 30 cost or less, but he's not 30 cost. So it's just so weird how this character is designed, and I think he'll just sit in tier 4 and probably stay there, if not go down. But yeah, that's my opinions on Sengoku. Very quick summary, I just don't like this character. Like, his special is pretty good, but I mean, it gives a rainbow attack boost, but then a orb boost to 30 cost or less, and then orb manip to 30 cost or less, and then like cost boosting captains are just not great. Now, speaking of cost boosting captains, we have Buggy. I think Buggy is tier 4 and probably the bottom of tier 4. His multipliers are so weak. Without expansion, he is a 1.75 times attack boosting captain and a 20 turn 2 times orb boost. That's really bad. Like, you're not clearing many pieces of content with that. I know Subconsty has cleared all of the arenas with Buggy. However, he took Toki and he took, I don't think he took Super Tandem Luffy, but he took a ton of characters that are just broken, like the Straw Hats, and he had to use all of them so Buggy could carry. And with expansion, he gets a buff captain effect where he goes up to a 3 times boost, but I still think he's just not that good. His special is pretty strong, though, giving a full board of orbs, a conditional boost, and an attack boost. and his special kind of does carry him, but he's a really unique character, and I think he belongs in tier 4 just because of his multipliers. If he, like, we see characters that are coming up that were like 1.75 times boost as well, then they went up to such higher boost, so it makes no sense to me why Buggy didn't get a higher boost. So I think Bandai kind of just ruined him. I mean, not ruined him. He still is going to see play, but I just don't think Bandai gave him the buffs he deserved. Alright, so next up we have Log Luffy. Log Luffy is going in tier 3 in my opinion. His special is bland, his captain effect's alright. His crewmate effect is really good though, making strength, tandem, and recovery beneficial to all characters in the game, which is really busted. But his special gives a full board of strength orbs through block slots, gives a bit of cooldown and damage, and then limits the amount of specials you can use. Like, if that special seemed bland, you're correct, because Shanks does more than that. Like, he takes out cooldown reduction for attack boost, but it's just this character's captain effect requires you to hit good, great, and perfect, so barriers are going to be a problem for him, and his special is just bland overall. So it hurts the character, because we see characters like Whitebeard who can provide a full board of orbs, can cool down, like at its orb boost, a base stat boost, some damage, more damage. Like, this character just can't hold up with the other characters, and I think over time, this character will just start to drop down more and more when we get more level limit breaks, but it's just makes no sense to me why this character special was made so poorly, because in my eyes it's just like, how are you gonna give some other characters such other great buffs and then give this guy a little bit of like strength orb manip and then cooldown and damage? But yeah, that's my thoughts on Log Luffy. I think he'll sit in tier 3, and I don't think there's probably any room for him to go higher, only lower. Alright, moving on to the other Luffy. I think he is a tier 2 unit. This Luffy kind of accompanies the, what's it called, the Free Spirit variation, which is the quick variation. Because, I mean, I'm using Stump's tier list, and Stump does not have the quick time skip Luffy on here. But it's fine, because we can just talk about them both. Sorry for hitting my mic. The thing about this Luffy is he's mono fighter. And fighters, in my opinion, are the second worst class in the game. And another thing about him is he debuffs himself after 3 turns. He gives him 7 turns of Bind Despair. So it's weird because this character just, like, legends that are gonna debuff the crew or himself are just not gonna be that good. However, his effects he provides are very good, giving a ton of damage reduction in his captain effect when he uses special, a high multiplier, as well as making all slots except quick slots beneficial, and an attack boost. So I think they could have done better with this character, but overall, like, mono fighters just aren't that good, and the fact that he debuffs himself means, in my opinion, unless fighters become the best class in the game, somehow, somewhere, if they push through Free Spirit and push through Strikers and Powerhouse, Slashers and all of them, if fighters somehow become the best class in the game, this Luffy might go up to tier 1, but I can never see him going into tier 0 because he debuffs himself. But that's my thoughts on him. I'm giving kind of a brief breakdown because I don't want this video to be too long. So if you think I'm not talking about these characters enough, then I'm sorry, but I'm kind of giving like the brief breakdown of their special, of their captain effect, and what you really need to know and why I'm placing them in that tier. But yeah, let's talk about V1 Zoro now. So V1 Zoro is slasher centric, so obviously slashers are a good class in my opinion. You could make an argument they're top 3 or top 4 class in the game, but pretty much he's bland, and I really don't like it. Here, I'll put him in tier 2, because his captain effect is really bland. It's an attack boost, a higher attack boost if you defeat an enemy, and then an HP boost. Like, it's just so bland. Like, how are you gonna make some other characters' captain effects completely busted and broken and unique, and then have this? His special though is really good. It's very versatile. It can give slashers an attack boost and an orb boost, and it also provides a chain lock. Now the orb boost is locked behind if you have an attack boost. However, him being versatile is very good for teams. He does damage as well, so that's great for supports. But overall, he's just bland, and if he's easily replaceable, which I think he is, because there's gonna be, I mean, it's a 2 times attack boost or a 2 times orb boost, And we have characters like Roger Newgate that can super switch and give his entire special, but better. I mean, they don't provide the chain lock and they don't provide damage with a super switch. But it's still like, how are you gonna let a switch almost completely show you up? But yeah, that's my opinions on V1 Zoro. I think he'll probably sit into tier 2, and just like other characters that are mono class, maybe if their class becomes the best in the game, they could go up a tiny bit. But I think he's just so bland that I don't want to move him up. I think he'll stay in tier 2 for a bit. Alright, so now we are at the end of the first batch of level limit breaks, and Aokiji's tier 0. Like, that's it. You can't change my mind on that. He is really, really strong. He can provide a full ward of orbs, an attack boost, utility with removing threshold and damage reduction by 3 turns. He does damage, and if you've consumed 16 or more quick or psi orbs, he recharges his special completely. And if you have an attack boost, he gives an orb boost. This character is a one-man army, being able to give an attack and orb boost plus utility and a full ward of slots damage. Like, this character is just so much for your team, and it's so hard to replace him because Legends with utility are just better. Like, that's it. That's all I'm gonna say. But his gun effect's also really good, giving some more matching slots. If you get hit in the order of Psi and Quick, it goes to a 4.8 boost, originally a 4 times boost like Psi and Quick. So, overall, this is just such a really good character that is going to see play a ton more with the Super Evolution and with Level Limit Break. And if you Limit Break expand this guy, oh my god, bro, this guy just becomes literally godly. So, Ace is actually the next character up. And Ace is mono shooter centric, and I think he is the top of tier 2. Ace is the end of this. I said in a few seconds ago that Aokiji was the end of batch 1, but I forgot about Ace. Ace can provide you a conditional boost against Ignite, then applies Ignite. He can get it on stun because he damages your crew, and he also gives an attack boost. Now his captain effect is kind of basic like Zoro, but I think his special makes up for it because it's more unique. Applying Burn is such a good effect that can get around a lot of things, such as like damage limiter, and also do like large AoE damage. So I think that this Ace is very good. His problems though are he's mono shooter. Like I've said, fighters are the second worst class, but shooters are the worst class in the game. They're very good in my eyes. Like they have a lot going for them. There's just like so much more you could get out of using like slashers or driven or cerebral or something like that. There's so many other benefits you can get from using some other characters, well, other classes. But I think this Ace belongs in tier 2. He probably won't go up unless shooters get like a massive buff, but he's really unique. A condition boost and an attack boost, and applies the condition and does damage. Like, this character is really good. I think he belongs in tier 2. I don't think he'll go lower for a while though. But yeah, that officially wraps up the first section of the level limit breaks, the first batch. Alright, so now we move on to the second batch, starting with V1 Marco. I want to put V1 Marco in tier 0. If you disagree with me, let me explain. So his captain effect's really good. It's tanky, giving healing and damage reduction depending on your HP values. It gives a attack, well, not an attack boost. It gives a high attack boost in his captain effect depending on your HP. So if you're at full, it's a higher attack boost. If you're not at full HP, it's lower, but still it's good. And this character special is one of the things that really compels me to put him in tier 0. It gives an orb boost, but then the ability to buff that orb boost. He heals, which does overhealing. He removes 7 turns of attack down and decreased chain. This character just provides so much for your crew, because you can give that orb boost, you can buff it, and he still removes utility. So you need to get around attack down and want like an orb boost. This guy's your guy. Like, that's why I think he's in tier 0. I don't know if he'll be staying there for a while because over time he might just like diminish in value because there'll be characters that can do more. But overall, I think this character is just really, really strong. And if you get him to level 150, Limit Break expand him, as well as giving him some Gun Candy, his recovery stat is like 1,000. And because he heals 100 times his recovery, you're looking for 100,000 HP. Like, that's insane to think about, bro. Like, to think that you can get 100,000 healing that overheals with just one unit is insane. So I think he'll sit in tier 0. However, as time goes on, he might drop down. But that's the saying for most characters, that eventually they will probably become worse and worse. But yeah, let's move on to the next character, being V1 Croc. Alright, so V1 Croc, in my opinion, is just godly. His level of Mimic is insane. His Captain effect gives like cooldown, and gives a higher attack boost to lower your HP, and gives an HP boost and some damage reduction. I don't know if it gives an HP boost to be exact, but I know it gives damage reduction. But his special is so broken. Now, I value specials higher than Captain effects in these tier lists because these characters don't have super class, they don't have super type, they don't have like burst specials, they don't have Captain actions. So it kind of devalues them as captains, but their specials are like the main focus, in my opinion. Now his special gives an HP cut, so it's a damage dealing special, an attack and orb boost to cerebrals, some orb manip like bottom and top row orb manip, and then gives a chain boundary. An attack boost, orb boost, chain boundary, and some orbs. That's insane. This character is just completely busted in my eyes. He's only for mono cerebral, so you could say, oh yeah, it's cerebral only, you know, it sucks. I'm putting him at the top of tier 1. Like, I don't care what you say, he's top of tier 1 in my eyes, because of just how much he provides to your crew. Like, being able to provide a chain boundary, like, and an attack, and an orb boost, and deal damage, and give some orbs, like, his character's hard to replace. And I don't know a lot of other characters that can even provide an attack, orb, and chain boundary. This would be great to use just on like a mini boss stage and just wave clear it easily. So I think he's gonna sit very comfortably at the top of tier 1. Who knows, if Cerebral gets like, a ton of buffs, he might go up, but who knows, maybe he'll go down in the future. But those are my thoughts on him. Let's move on to the next one. Okay, so next up we have V1 Dofi. I think V1 Dofi probably belongs in tier 1 as well. He gives a ton of stuff in his Captain effect. He can heal, he makes Psi, Int, Tana, and recovery slots beneficial. He gives a high attack boost to Driven. He gives, -1 cooldown and an HP boost. This character's Captain effect is insane. And his special gives Orb Manip, an Orb boost, a color affinity boost. He locks the slots as well, he makes perfects easier to hit. Like, this character's special is just so good, and his Captain effect is insane in my eyes. It's such a good Captain effect for Driven. But I think he's gonna probably not be as good as some of the other characters because it's only adjacent slots for his special. If he was a full word of Orbinip, I think this character might be better than Boa. But I think Croc has just a good hold on tier 1 for now. But yeah, Dofi's gonna sit in tier 1 for a while. As Driven gets better over time, he could go up. As Driven gets worse over time and other classes get better, he could go down. But again, that's like this thing I'm gonna say for all of them. That right now he might be, one of the best, but over time we'll probably see more level limit breaks come out that outshine him. So next up we have another tier 1 character in my opinion, which is going to be this Sabo. This Sabo is better than Boa, but this Sabo is really unique with the fact that if you tap on him with a Psi or a tandem slot as a captain, he applies Burn. He gives an HP and recovery boost to Free Spirit. He gives an attack boost to Free Spirit in his captain effect. Like, the uniqueness of this character is very good, and with his special, you can get a attack boost one turn if you hit perfects, and attack boost the next turn, a ignited conditional boost, and some orbs. This character is really good because you can carry all that into the next room because the ignited status effect boost is actually 3 turns. So you can always just carry that in when you use your special and then get the 2.5 times Free Spirit attack boost. Now, Free Spirit is the best class in the game, so I think putting him up high just makes sense to me just because of how broken Free Spirit is. However, you could make an argument to me that he doesn't deserve to be there just because of his class. And he's not there just because of his class, so I think that he's going to sit in tier 1 for now, and Free Spirit are only going to get better and better the longer we're on Wano, so he could even go up. However, I don't think he will go up for a while until, like, who knows. This character might not go up at all. A majority of these characters will probably just go down over time. I don't see a lot of them going up. But yeah, that's it for Sabo. Alright, so now we have another character. You might think, oh, you're going to put him in tier 3 with Rayleigh because Rayleigh, they were already both good. But I think the buffs Corazon got are just so broken. See, the thing with Rayleigh is his utility numbers did not change because they didn't need to change. But Corazon went from 3-turn debuff removal for everything except, well, everything. But now he's a 5-turn removal for everything except paralysis and attack down. But as a sailor, he can remove 1 turn of paralysis for the crew. So he's really just a 5-turn like debuff remover of like almost everything in the game except attack down, which is like 4 turns. This character provides so much. He also heals and he makes a bunch of slots beneficial and then changes, crew slots into those. It's like Boa's Orb Manip, and I think this character just belongs in tier 0. Just right now, we could all probably just be biased, and then over time we see that he's not actually that good, but I think that he's really good. His captain effect is awful though. I don't like his captain effect, and I don't think that many people do, but I think his special just makes up for it. So yeah, I think that's where he's going to sit in tier 0 for a while, until maybe we get into the like 6-turn debuff meta or 6-turn, buff on the enemy meta, and then we kind of lose out on a bunch of characters. But for now, he's gonna sit pretty in tier 0, and yeah, let's move on. Alright, so now we are at the end of the second batch, which is gonna hold V2 Akainu's 6+. This character is just like Aokiji, and I think he is not as good, but really good. This character does pretty much the reverse of Aokiji. He boosts strength and int, but Aokiji boosts psi and quick. On initial activation, Akainu gives an orb boost, but Aokiji gives an attack boost. They both give a full board of orbs. They both deal damage. Akainu removes defense up and damage reduction, but Aokiji removes threshold and damage reduction. And if you consume 12 strength or int slots for Akainu, he'll recharge his special, and then you can get a attack boost, because if you have an orb boost, he has an attack boost. Like, this character's special is just broken. Both of his specials are broken, and the captain effects are very strong. And the unique thing that Akainu has in his captain effect is he deals end of turn damage. So he can passively get around resilience, which is a really strong effect, because resilience is just annoying. But I think tier 0 for Aokiji and Akainu, they're going to be there for a very long time until somehow they get like better characters, and then they just fall off. But I think that Aokiji and Akainu, to reiterate, are just going to be there for a long time. Alright, so now we have the newest batch of limit breaks, and we'll start with Usopp. Usopp is tier 1. He is the second best in tier 1. He has problems though. He's mono shooter. Mono shooter just hurts everyone, because shooters aren't the best. Now, I think that Usopp, he just provides a lot for the crew, being able to make all slots, psi, int, tandem, recovery, strength, dex, and quick slots beneficial. He increases the attack timer of all enemies by 1 turn at the start of each stage. He provides upwards of a 4.75 times boost depending on your HP. And his special can be either an attack boost or an orb boost for 4 turns to shooters. And he can also delay enemies with immunity. He can, if they don't have immunity, he can just give them a 5-turn delay, which is really good. However, the reasons he's not in tier 0 or the top of tier 1 is because he's mono shooter. If he was mono free spirit, then I think he would definitely make it to tier 0. But for now, I think tier 1 is where he's going to sit. But when shooters make their like comeback or something like that, like they get the super class of whoever is like the best character, I don't know, that could be a shooter super class, and I think this Usopp might be just, I mean, he's already broken, but I think he'll sit in tier 1. Alright, so next up we have V1 Rob Lucci. He's a tier 2 character in my opinion. He's really strong, and people might disagree with my placement of him, but I think I'm going to put him in tier 2 because you really need to limit break expand him to get the most out of his kit. Now, because with his limit break expansion, he goes down to a 5-turn cooldown, which is insane for what he can do with his level limit break, but otherwise he's a 12-turn cooldown. And when you read his special, you'll understand why limit break expanding him is so important. So let's talk about it. He does damage, he immensely boosts the chance of landing on a matching slot, and gives an attack boost going from 2.25 to 2.5 to 2.75, depending on the amount of times you've used his special. Now, obviously you want to launch his special a ton, and a 5-turn cooldown is just insanely low for a character that you want to activate his special so many times. However, if you don't have a limit break expanded, he's going to sit in tier 2 because just how high his cooldown is, and you'll probably, for a majority of his career not being limit break expanded, he will only get that 2.5, not 2, well, maybe a 2.5, but pretty much a majority of it will be 2.25. But yep, that's my opinions on Rob Lucci. I think if you do have a member expanded, he'll probably make his way into tier 1. But as for now, I think he just belongs in tier 2 at the top of tier 2. Alright, so now we have Barto. Barto is really good, and I'm gonna put him in tier 2. Now, the uniqueness of Barto is that he can activate his special twice throughout the... well, yeah, technically twice. Because he has essentially double special activation in his captain effect. Because if you apply damage reduction, he auto-activates his captain effect. Now, it works well, and I think most people notice this, is because he applies an attack and orb boost to German and Striker in turn 1. He also applies resilience turn 1. And then in the following turn, you get color affinity. And that's very good because you could use his actual special on stage 4 of an arena, apply damage reduction, carry the color affinity into the next stage, and then activate a special for an attack and or boost. If the enemy interrupts an attack and or boost, you got around it. So I think this character is very good. If this character, this character boosts Driven and Striker, so it's better than some other characters that just boost one color and one class. However, who knows what will happen over time. He could become infinitely better, he could become infinitely worse, but really it just takes time to see what this character will become in the future. So Cavendish is like a mini Toki. This character's buffs though, okay, he is not better than V2 Rayleigh. Not V2, I said V3 in another recording, and then I said V2 now, so V1 Rayleigh, he is not better than V1 Rayleigh, but his upgrades are. So he gets the ability to give himself a 3.5 times attack and or boost, he removes beneficial effects, he removes paralysis on himself, he is able to give himself a matching slot and lock it. This character is just going to shred enemies' HP when he has the chance to. However, he removes beneficial effects and he's self-centered. Units that are self-centered and just remove beneficial effects are just the most annoying in my opinion, because if you want a higher attack boost to your crew, you just can't because he's going to remove it and give himself an attack boost and an orb boost. So I think this character is going to sit in tier 3 just because he's self-reliant. If somehow, someway he gave a 3.5 times orb boost to the entire crew, this character would be tier 0 broken best character in the entire game or something like that. Like, probably not the best character in the entire game, but what this character provides is really strong, and if you need to just get around a pesky enemy with a ton of HP, this guy will be a really good special to do that. So I think he'll sit in tier 3, but I don't see him going up anytime soon. And we're finally at the end. We have Jinbe. So I'm going to put Jinbe behind Rayleigh, but above Rob Lucci. So the thing about Jinbe is his captain effect is bland, and instead of outright giving him more in his special stayed the same, but now they added a condition at the end where if your captain's a fighter, he removes attack down and then gives a color affinity boost. Now color affinity is not good, and instead of giving him more, it requires a condition. So if you run this character just for some utility and whatever, you're not gonna see that attack down or color affinity removal. Before I actually knew what this character did, I would run him on an int team to just get rid of some defensive effects, and that's something you could do. But he is mono fighter centric, and mono fighter is the second worst class. We obviously know this Luffy is also mono fighter, but I think he's gonna sit in tier 3, which would then mean this tier list is now over. So yeah, this is it for the tier list. We have obviously Aokiji, Akainu, Corazon, and Marco are tier 0 units in my opinion for the upgrades they get and just how viable they are. I think Croc, Usopp, Sabo, Boa, Doflamingo, and Shanks are tier 1 legends with their level limit breaks because of how strong and viable they get, and Shanks being needed in Grand Voyage definitely gives him extra points. For tier 2, we have Lucci, Ace, Barto, Whitebeard, Zoro, and Luffy. I think that they're good, but they kind of have their own flaws in my opinion, and they rely on other characters and other things to happen. So I think that they probably won't be seeing tier 1 anytime soon, but who knows, I could be wrong. Now tier 3, we have Cavendish, Rayleigh, Jinbe, and Long Luffy. I know people might disagree with me on this Rayleigh, but if you have your opinions on it, feel free to tell me in the comments. Or just any opinions about this tier list, feel free to tell me in the comments. These characters are fine, their buffs are really, like, it makes them more usable. They're usable in content even more, or just usable at all in content now. But I think the other characters, like, above them, are just so much better with their buffs. I have this just as V1 Rayleigh is better than Cavendish. However, the buffs Cavendish got are better than V1 Rayleigh's. And in tier 4 we have Buggy and Sengoku. These characters are just annoying to use and have low multipliers for Buggy, and then I require certain characters, and they're just annoying to use. That's why I put them low. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have some stuff you want to say about this tier list, how you think that Ace should be tier 0 or something like that, feel free to tell me in the comments below. That's gonna wrap it up for me. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.